The stranger was trapped, caught in a maze. It was hard to make sense of this place. The trail just kept on closing. The stranger's voice was hoarse. I just need some time, I think, to see things clearly. The stranger's voice was hoarse. I just need some time, I think, to see things clearly. traveler said. You sailed in here. Where's your boat? Friend, you need a boat. Go see the builder in the caves. Tell them I'm sorry I never came back. The stranger had blazed their own path, created their own rock, their own islands. They did not need Ember's kindness. But still, Ember stayed. Building a bridge should it ever be needed. The stranger met Ember's eyes. The two shared a moment of silence. The Ember was cured. I'm headed for the cross. I've heard there's a nest there, a safe place. The fisherman murmured quietly between sorrowful breaths. The fisherman felt so useless. His former joys were hollow. only the dark water to hear him talk. In that darkness a glimmer flickered. A thought beating like a drum. A thought that went round and round. It all started with a frog. Every day by the pond, a constant reminder. For a brief moment, the fisherman struggled to speak. He looked at Ember, hopeful. The fisherman spoke softly. "There's a frog in that pond, a big one. Saw him grow from a tadpole. We were friends of a sort, spent every day side by side. So much better at fishing than me, that frog is. Catches them before I can bait them. Oh, it makes me feel useless some days." The fisherman sighed. "I've wasted so much time feeling like this." The old man looked carefully at the pond, at their rod, at Ember. "Well, listen to me here, rambling on and on. It helps, though, telling someone. Thank you, Ember. If you need help catching anything, you just ask." Poor little worms. But how do you fish without one for me, one for the fishes? Slurp 'em down. They say catching a fish isn't the point, so I tell myself that a lot. I chased old Blue Betty round, best days of my life catching. Had to use myself as bait. Stuck on me head ever since. You saw the frog? Did the frog... You ask the frog about me, see what they say. Actually, no, just... Please don't tell the frog how much I talk about them. If you need help catching anything, you just ask. The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling. Its eyes were fixed on Ember, but it seemed to... Was this the frog that the fisherman spoke of? Ember could hardly ignore the rumbling from the frog's belly. The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling. If you need help catching anything, you just ask. The traveler spoke. you ever had roast frog, friend? I miss a good roast frog. Oh, how they crackle. The stranger had been forgotten. They tried to follow as best they could. But no one heard them when they fell behind. The stranger looked at Ember with surprise. Someone came back for me. Thank you. The traveler said, Friend, you need go see the builder in the caves. Tell them I'm sorry I never came back. If you need help catching anything, you just ask. The ghost said, "Speak and I will listen." Take the path east of here, gaze into the pond. The frog knows of a lost forlorn. The crow held its shining trophy. The old gate was locked. The stranger whispered, "I've never felt that. What does it feel like? Is it nice? It sounds nice." Inside was a scrap of journal. The strangers on the water went on without me. Where have I landed? Vines and thorns stretch out to trip me. The worm looked helpless. As Ember picked it up, the worm let out a little yelp. The Wanderer's Diary. Unfamiliar trees, a path overgrown. Is this a resting place? A place between places? I call out, but mine is the only voice. key was nestled between the reeds, but it was just out of reach. It didn't seem like that would really help. The broken net hung ominously around the skeleton's neck. The stranger shivered in the cold. Home was a distant memory, stolen by the passing miles. They'd moved through such dark places. They lay down and closed their eyes. The stranger blinked at Ember. Is it morning already? How long have I been asleep? The key was but it was just out of reach. The old gate was locked. The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling. This was not how Ember had imagined the end. The gurgling of water, a deafening heartbeat. But then... the fog returned Ember's good deed by leading them to a lost forlorn. The stranger stood alone. Their friends have fallen aside, retreating from what came next. The stranger had ventured on. Now they were deep in the woods. It felt so pointless. The stranger spoke hesitantly. "Is the campfire crowded? Let me gather myself. I'll see you there." The stranger spoke. "There's a cook in the swamp. Makes a broth like you wouldn't. Keep telling them that it doesn't taste right. They'll keep giving you more." The fisherman noticed the broken net Ember was carrying. "Let me have a look. See what I can..." With a silk thread, the fisherman, with each knot he tied, a net began to... "Here you go. Good as new." He was nestled between them, but it was just out of reach. The old gate was locked. Ember placed the key in the lock and slowly began to turn it. stranger gasped for breath. Dark water sweeping above their head. He didn't care if they sank or swam. Slowly the tides ebbed, washing over old walls. Safe harbor emerging from the inky depths. Ember reached out a hand. The stranger looked down. The ground feels good beneath my feet, friend. The ghost said, "You have done all you can, little one. Your journey ahead will not be the path to leave this place. I will guide others to follow after you clear the way." There are others like you. Will always be welcome here in the forest. Once again, Ember could feel eyes watching. Ember approached the forlorn, but felt it was... They said, "I know what I need to do. I don't want to be helped." Ember could not help. Not all problems were puzzles to be solved. Ember found the Wanderer's diary. The oily smell of frogs. They know more than they will say. They watch me watching them. two travelers were Yeah, I got so lost in the... Why go anywhere else if it... Yeah, never have to... The birds scare me though. Do you know where... I've been walking forever, lost in the marsh. The guard joked. Another scrawny Ember from the fog, and with a bag looking all nicely, both guards started looking at Ember with a deathly... The guard leered. The Forest King would... Yes, come a little closer. Let us see what's in that bag. We guard the door to the Forest King. Oh yes, we decide who gets to see the king. The Forest King will... Yes, come this way. A feeling of foreboding overcame Ember. Ember was terrified but tried not to show it. The giant bird spoke softly. Do not fear, the bird is a friend. Ember wanted to feel safe. Oh, little Ember, birds won't hurt you. Birds will take another under our wing. Stay safe in the nest, you'll never turn forlorn. Ember was still afraid. Is it the night that scares you, little one? See, night is... Birds will make the world less frightening. It wasn't only the night that frightened Ember. The bird was disappointed. Stay? Hope is false. Hope hurts little ones in the end. The Forest King spoke so gently to Ember. Perhaps they could rest here for a while. It was hard to know what else to say. Clever little Ember, you will stay. You will not turn for law. Search for hope no more. Now take this feather. Feather means Ember is one. Birds keep little ones safe. Birds should never leave the nest. The guards seem pleased. I can hold that back. Leave him alone. They're one of us now. Yeah, one of us. And we all shares bags and things. The stranger wanted Ember's attention. You should get away from here. You can't trust... I've heard there's another campfire. Well, that's where I'm going if I can find a way down. The guard squawked. Stand back, don't come any... Nothing down there but... Go see the Forest King. He'll set you straight. Got your fur... Stand watch here. Promise you won't let anyone pass. Ember didn't like deceiving the birds. But what choice did they have? They couldn't rest in that place forever. Ember uncovered a journal entry. Dusk brings the longest shadows. The lanthorn comforts me. Soft melodies from home. The wild things listen. Yellow eye. Ember hurried away from the birds. The mist hung close to Ember, hiding them. The forest king seemed frightened, the birds cruel. Ember would rather risk turning forlorn than become like them. Ahead there would be others to help, and maybe a way to move on. Hidden away was a scrap of journal. There are memories here, bound in rock. I hear their voices echo in the ancient stone. I find footprints by the cinders, a makeshift camp. The traveler seemed distressed. I'm sure that it's been a while since. It's my fault. The traveler whispered quietly, no matter where I go, always here. It looked like a map, but pieces were missing. Ember found a scrap of journal. I heard them coming. The snap of a twig, a flutter of birds. A figure dashing through the undergrowth. Another like me? The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. This forlorn was not the same as the other. The forlorn whispered softly, I may never be the future is yours, but mine is mine. Ember left the forlorn. The time wasn't right, perhaps would never be. Ember wasn't ready to face the birds again. piece formed a new route. It was the same place as before, but how? An eerie scene, like a moment frozen in time. Hidden inside was the Wanderer's journal. Another face at last, a catcher of fish resting by a pond. We worked together, silk and tar and aching fingers. My Gradually more of the map was revealed. A section of bridge had somehow been ripped from its foundations. It was like the map had been broken on purpose. The mist revealed a secret place. Was it hidden on purpose? The stranger spoke. They said something, and now I'm lost. But it's too late. The skeleton looked peaceful. Held tightly in its hand was a red feather. The statue spoke, just as it once moved the heart. The instrument you now hold has another before you took great effort to hide it deep within this riddle. The lanthorn began to glow. Inside was a secret diary entry. Pink, orange, red, brown, leaves gently dancing to the ground. Crunch, crackle, lovely sound, fall into a giant mound. A lost message was inside. The mist is thick. One way blurs into another. Where do I end? Where does the world begin? I cannot see far enough to tell. There was one last place to reach on the map. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. Ember felt a great relief to be out of the mist. The way through was ruined, muffled by the fog. Could that have been the tremendous snow? Ember didn't mind getting muddy. The slide was such fun. A sleeping pig. They looked happy. A sleeping pig. Trotters in the... They looked happy. The plant looked, and it was in Ember's way. The fruit was giving off a sickly sweet smell. The plant looked like it could take a hand up, and it was in Ember's way. Ember chuckled. The dangerous plant was no match for a hungry piggy. A hideous odor filled the air. And suddenly, the reason was obvious. Ember came upon another campfire lost in the wilderness. It looked long cold, but ready to be lit. The pig inhaled a giant snort of air. Wait, what's that delicious? Ember shuffled nervous. Other embers fed me treat, but then stopped. You feed me now. As the pig chewed, a light grew in its belly. Fruity, fresh. But what I want is something with more crunch. The pig would eat anything. Ember just needed to find more. And with each thing it ate, the light grew even brighter. Surprising. A little sparky. But what I want is something with more crunch. Perhaps if Ember could satisfy the pig, they might be more helpful. Ember found a secret note from the Wanderer. Something beckons. This place is not home. I trace the map in my head, recite the older myths. I have to move on. The skull was disgusting. Perhaps the pig would like it. This was the last thing Ember could find to offer. Crunchy, embery, not much meat, bit too bony. But what I want, the pig's stomach made an almighty sound. Ember chuckled with relief at the large creature they had been so afraid of. The ghost said, "Speak and I will listen." This is the Here hope was. You must not lose hope. Ember thought of those they loved, those they'd left behind. The forest, the campfire, find those who are lost. Bring embers to the fire. Travel wisely, return if you have lost your way.